All right. Pranked, we got you all there. Yeah, so that was the first part of the format. I hope you can all read. If you can, you got to see part one of our format reveal. It's going to be a similar length season. I'll talk through it again. Tion didn't see it. We will put it back up there, Tion. Don't worry. But for Rocket League, this is the first half of the season. So, similar to in the fall, we are going to have a tier assignment day. That's going to be technically week 0. It's going to be a big old tier assignments night where we're going through a format. It's not quite set yet. If you're in the RL committees channel, you'll see that Swiss was a pretty emphatic choice from the players. So we're leaning towards Swiss at the moment for tier assignment, but we still do have a lot of things to decide between now and then. Couple months. We still got to finish up fall, so we're still nailing things down for the spring format when it comes to tier assignment day. But we are still doing groups for all 3 tiers that we are looking to expand into. This was the biggest semester of the SEL of all time. It trumped even the massive spring semester last season that we had. Season 5 has been huge so far, and we no longer want to eliminate teams. So tier 1 is still going to remain the same. It's going to be those top 16 teams from tier assignment. They're going to be split into 2 pools of 8, play through their groups. Tier 2, same thing, 48 teams from tier assignment, 6 pools of 8, play through their groups. But tier 3, it's the bottom 64, but if we have to expand it, we will. This is basically the catch-all for all of the C teams, D teams, E teams, F teams, if you're crazy like that, that didn't make it into the top two tiers. We don't want to eliminate anybody. That's the big thing that I want to stress with the new spring format. We don't want any team to miss out on playing in the SEL. And so tier 3 is that big catch-all. And the big change that's being made, if we could go to the next spring format slide, is in the playoff section of the format. So, tier 1 still has the winner's circle groups for those top 8 teams. That's the same. Tier 1 and Tier 2 will still meet in a last chance qualifier. That is still the same. And then Tier 1 and 2 playoffs will remain the same, 12 teams, double elim. But that Tier 2 and Tier 3 are going to be merging. Bottom from Tier 2, top from Tier 3. We'll be merging into a Rising Star playoffs. This is the big selling point, I hope, for a lot of teams that feel like they're not good enough to play in Tier 2. They'll just go 08 or sorry, 07 or something like that and not get much out of it. This is for you. Play in tier 3 and have your chance still at the end of the season, or at the end of the semester, roughly, or rather in a postseason. So no teams are eliminated. And we have our new Rising Star initiative. This is really inspired by those players that started on D teams or C teams and made their way all the way up to A teams. Your guys like B More or Snipes or players like that that would have, if we had this format 3 years ago, begun in the Rising Star sector of the SEL. And then they make their way up to tier 2 and then tier 1 eventually. We want those stories. We want those narratives in the SEL. We want to breed talent in collegiate. So we want those lower ranked teams to have a space to compete as well. But that's just Rocket League. We also have Valorant to talk through because we give a lot of love to RL, but Valorant has been one of the best decisions we've ever made at the SEL, including Valorant. I mean, if you didn't see the grand finals on LAN this past spring that went all 5 maps and made us stay at the venue until like 2 a.m., and you missed out. But this fall, it's been fantastic, and we're doing a similar thing. We're expanding to a 3rd tier. So 8 teams in tier 1, middle 24 teams in tier 2, and then those bottom teams in tier 3. we are expanding. We want those lower ranked Valorant teams to do the same thing I've been talking about, where you have a place to play. It is worth it for you to come here and compete in the SEL, whether you're a B, a C, or a D team, or if you're just a bunch of silvers and golds, you should have a place to play. And the SEL is looking to provide that with this format. And we'll move on to the next slide as well, as it'll be a similar concept where our teams in each tier will meet for a postseason, last chance qualifier. Everything's fairly similar, just Valorantized with the winner's circle for those top 4 teams. Then we got the last chance qualifier, those next 16, and then our playoffs for tier 1 and tier 2, and those rising star playoffs on the bottom side of SEL Valorant. So that rising star initiative is the big addition to our formats for the spring. And honestly, I'm extremely excited for this because I think that's something, as the top of the SEL expands, it's going to be more difficult for those club programs, I think, that we've kind of catered to in the past to keep up. When it comes to their B and C teams, I think Auburn's a great example, obviously, because traditionally, and I'm a little biased being an Auburn student, but their B team and their C team have typically competed in the SEL to not a huge degree of success. And nowadays, I don't want to leave them out because I love those guys. I want them to have a place to play. And to see them, win the Rising Star playoffs in the spring would be fantastic for me. So, well, let's hope that happens. Let's hope Auburn Rocket League gets better. I had to shout them out on the mainstream. You let me back on for 1 week, and I'm talking about Auburn Rocket League. But that is the big first announcement. So let me know what you think in chat. We are always open to opinions, open to suggestions, but this is the plan going forward with the Swiss tier assignment. Still what we're leaning to. Something to be nailed down, but yeah, that's the first announcement. So the second one, I think, is the big one. Shaka, if we could go back to me for a second to build some suspense. Because I would love to build up this second announcement. This is the one that will not be put on social media just yet. This is the one you'll have to wait a bit if you're not tuned in to our stream tonight to see. Our second big announcement is something that's been in the works for almost an entire year. Fred and I have been working very hard to get this done. Fred sealed the deal finally in this past month. And the big announcement is that the SEL has been given a spot at the big CECC LAN hosted by Esports U. The best team in the SEL will be traveling to the CECC LAN. That's the big one. First weekend of May, that May Madness, that is what we have been wanting to tell you for so long. The stuff that I was like, yeah, to the people that asked me, what is the announcement? What is the announcement? I couldn't tell you. This is the huge step for the Southeastern Esports League. Shout out to the CECC. Shout out to the CSMG Esports U. Everyone involved in that process for giving a regional league like us that step up in the collegiate landscape, because this is huge for the league. One Rocket League team and one Valorant team will be sent straight to the CECC. And for this semester, so for this spring, it's going to be the number 1 ranked spring teams. So because of the delay in the announcement, because fall is almost over, it is just going to be based on spring performance to determine who goes to the CECC. But in the future, it will be our number 1 overall team in points across the entire season, fall and spring. That will be who goes to CECC. Unfortunately, our LAN is scheduled to be after the CECC LAN, so we can't use that to determine who goes. But I think regular season champion going to CECC is a pretty darn good reward for those teams that have been putting in the work week after week through the fall and through the spring. So for this season only, for season 5 only. It is just that number 1 overall ranked spring team, but in the future it will be points. And you get to represent the SCL as well. It's so exciting. I can't wait to see an SCL team there competing with the big dogs of CRL. And who knows? It might be a big dog of CRL as well. But you know, CECC includes Overwatch as well, includes Super Smash Bros, Street Fighter. Maybe there's something to be said about the SEL moving to that in the future. That's a decision we make far in the future. But for now, the best SEL, Rocket League, and Valorant teams will be going to the CECC May Madness LAN, which is huge. We're really hoping that this is going to attract a higher level of competition and more teams that want to take their shot at qualifying to the CECC while also getting some good regional practice in. I think this is such a big step for the league, and I'm so happy that we finally get to tell you guys, because the players are what make this league what it is, and I think this is a great reward for hard fought battles that they have to go through on a weekly basis. So yeah, let that sink in for a second. We're sending a team to CECC. But we still have more announcements to go. That is the big one, but we still have another massive one coming up, and it's not so much a reward or a or anything like that, but it is a big change to the league, and it's important that you listen to everything we have to say about this third announcement, because the SCL for the spring will be migrating to a paid entry league. And before you panic, before you think about what that might do to your club program budget, we want to talk you through this decision, because it wasn't made lightly at all. This is something for a long time being a free entry league that we prided ourselves on. But unfortunately, that model isn't as sustainable as it used to be in terms of sponsorships for the SEL. So going forward, starting in the spring, the entry fee for the league is going to be $450. And when we do kind of reset that for the fall, that $450 will get you an entire year's worth of entry. So it covers fall, spring, and summer, and you get unlimited teams across unlimited titles. So if you've got A through F teams in Rocket League, plus maybe an A and a B team for Valorant within your school's program, it's $450 for those 8 teams. Those, how many would that be? 28 players, something like that. We had to do something to increase the revenue flow to the league, um but we want to make it as affordable as possible, and 450 is what we settled on here. And I mean, if you look at the math, the fee is less than $30 per player if you submit an A and a B team for both Rocket League and Valorant. So we really want to incentivize programs that have Rocket League and Valorant offered to send as many teams as they possibly can to split up those costs, because I mean, we get it. We're fresh out of college students. I graduated a year ago. I understand that it is not easy to come up with just a couple $100s to compete in an esports league. But we think this is an affordable level when split among players, and we want to help programs as well. And I know Katz, when we were talking about this in the RO committees, was like, look, I'm the treasurer for South Carolina. If you need help, figure out how to make this paid entry fee doable for your program, talk to him. I don't want to like throw Katz into a flood of DMs, but look, we are all about working with programs to keep the names in the SCL that we have had over the last several years, because we don't want to dump them in the streets after we make this change. But this fee will go to covering existing staff and production costs, with additional profits being used to expand the SEL. and everything we offer at the SEL. That means extra content. That means funding side tournaments. I know I mentioned having a Bed Wars tournament during the off season. That's something I'd like to move to. And like going forward, we may run tournaments with entry fees. And if you have paid the $450 to play in the normal league, then your entry fee would be waived for any side tournaments that we run, that sort of thing. Look, so we're trying to use the money that we make from schools to obviously cover SEL costs, but use profits to put money back into the scene that we're supporting. And that also includes helping to fund and sponsor LAN events that are in the region, ones that we don't run. We're kind of talking right now about using any kind of extra marketing budget to assist lands like the Bluegrass Boost Battle is a great example, or Voldland, Dog Hack, those sort of events that our SEL teams typically travel to compete in. We want to help prop those up as well, because that's also a massive part in the regional collegiate scene for us. I mean, I know how many SEL teams travel to Lexington every semester or competed in Voland last spring. That is something that we want to put money back into, because those events are so important. Lands are awesome. Like, lands are probably the best experiences you're going to get in collegiate esports. And we want to obviously run our online league, but help fund lands as well. And we want to add more off-season tournaments, stuff after our LAN in the spring. So we're looking to use the revenue we get off of this paid entry model to add more to the SEL offering. So I know it's not an easy thing to digest at first sight, having to put $450 into a league you didn't have to previously, but this is something that is good for the future of the league. There were a couple moments in the offseason where we weren't sure the SCL was going to be a thing for season 5, and everything came together. But going forward, this is the most sustainable path for a league like ours in the collegiate space. And I'll say, as someone who is involved in a collegiate program, this is a heck of a lot cheaper than some of those national leagues that you play just as much Rocket League or Valorant for on a semester's basis. So I'll leave it at that. If you have questions, we're doing a Q&A with Fred later on in the show, and he will be happy to answer all questions that you might have. But next big announcement. I'm sure you're wondering why it's me telling you all this information, why, if Fred's going to be on the show, he isn't talking right now about all of this. Well, the big announcements that we're about to talk about starts with the announcement that I am the next director of league operations at the SEL. I've been promoted from director of content to the director of league operations. We have promoted several staff members, including myself. But Sarah, I mean, she does phenomenal work in the background. She was our social media manager. She made some phenomenal content this semester when I got really busy, and she's going to keep doing that as the director of digital content. I am extremely excited to be promoting from within. I mean, Snipes as well. He's now the collegiate team coordinator. He's getting a promotion from managing Rocket League and cooking up cool formats for us to now being in charge of coordinating all teams. So he gets to wrangle all you players out there. So he'll be sticking around a while longer. The guy pressing the buttons tonight, Shaka, he might be retiring from Rocket League. I hope not, but he's at least going to be the head of production at the SEL. So he's not leaving the Southeastern Esports League, which I'm extremely happy about. And then there's this guy, his name's DJ TJ. You may have heard of him. He has been promoted to the head of events for the SEL. So he'll be in charge of helping live events run smooth, helping our events in general run smooth. The dude's been running events at DreamHack and MomoCon recently. So he's lending some of his valuable time to a league that we all know and love. So that's the big thing right now. We're doing this to look at growing the SCL even more, because everyone you see on this list, Fred and Jacob included, those I should have started with, they're obvious inclusions. They've been at the top of the SEL for a while. Fred is the executive director, and Jacob is the director of esports and development at the SEL. They've been making things happen for so long at the top. And then myself, Sarah, Snipes, Shaka, and TJ, we've been lending a lot of time to the league to help it grow to where it's at. And look, I mean, part of the paid entry is to start paying staff just a little bit more to give us an ability to keep lending our time and our expertise to growing the league. So Snipes is going to be your new point of contact for you players and teams already in the SEL. Fred and I are focusing on recruitment and overall growth. Sarah's doing phenomenal content. Shaka is leading the charge into vMix. If you're not familiar with the production side of things, we're transitioning from using OBS as a streaming tool to using vMix, which is a massive upgrade for what we are able to do with the SEL. Because broadcast has always been a massive part of the Southeastern Esports League, and we're always looking to upgrade semester after semester. So vMix is a big part of that. And then TJ is going to add his flair to our SCL lands and getting us involved in other lands as well. So we're currently looking for a director of outreach. If anyone listening right now is interested in assisting with recruitment and sponsors, that is a position that we are looking to fill. Someone that can reach out to potential sponsors, to schools, just to help us expand our capabilities outside of what we're already doing. And we're also always looking for people that want to provide content to the league. If you want to make content for the SEL, feel free to hit up Sarah, hit up myself, whoever you like. And general interns as well. We've had a couple people work for the SEL on an internship basis, earning class credit. So that's something your school does. And you're like, shoot, where am I going to get an internship? Or if you might have to get a sales internship somewhere you don't want to be. And that's where I was at for a second a couple of years ago. Then see if you can't snag an internship with the SEL, get some class credit. I know Freddie will sign off on that for you. But speaking of which, I think it's high time we get Mr. Executive Director on stream to talk through some of these decisions, because obviously with me being the new director of league operations, I'm a decently qualified guy to talk about the changes happening at the Southeastern Esports League. But Fred's been at the top for a very long time. I'm sure some of you want to hear straight from the horse's mouth what the thought process is behind some of these decisions. So if we could bring Fred on, I would love to see him. Let me know when he's there.
Hey, how you doing,
All right,
Bepic?
Fred, welcome to the stream. I know you've been watching in the background here for a bit, as you do. But first of all, how excited are you to finally have these announcements public?
I mean, I'm just excited. Honestly, we've had some really good feedback in chat. I mean, I've been sitting here just listening to Bepic talk. Definitely happy he's the one announcing it to all of you. But we've had some great chat messages. I've been sitting here looking up at them. I love the resounding happiness on the CECC stuff. That's something that was, truthfully, we were a little unsure of what we were going to do to branch us out into the national side. We never want to grow the SEL to be a national league, and that is a very important thing to me from the get-go. You know, very similar to what we call trad sports. Think of esports as a sport still, but a lot of people refer to it trad sports, and that's been important to me, is that we kind of follow a similar framework. It's important that it doesn't just grow willy-nilly. It's important that it follows what is a proven format and can grow for these players. You know, it gives us a lot of opportunity there. You know, I'm excited to, like you said, promote from within. You know, the SEL would not be around if it wasn't for people like you, Bepic, like Snipes, like Shaka, who have not just competed but really either, started as a caster and just really found a passion for it and helped us grow beyond belief. There's only so much I can do. I'm a single person, and I'm definitely thankful. So a lot of these announcements are basically just fruits of labor, and of course the biggest one, and probably the one that people will have the most questions about, is the entry fee. and
Yep.
and that's definitely one that it was hard. It was a hard decision to make, and we are excited though. Every season has been a let's do what we can do and hope that it pans out financially. And we've been very blessed and very lucky that it has. The biggest concern, though, is there was always that uncertainty going into the season. Me and Bepic
Yep.
talked pretty heavily before the start of this season of, it was easy back in the day when we had 16 Rocket League teams, 32 Rocket League teams. We didn't even have Valorant at the time. So, stomaching the budget was okay when there was the uncertainty of, will we have those sponsors? But then once we got to the possibility of 70 Rocket League teams, an additional 40 Valorant teams, our operating budget got into be, around 17 to $20,000 for starting in the fall. And that is something that, when we have zero sponsorship funding coming in, and luckily we'll probably secure one or two, it's still something we don't want to be uncertain of. We want to be able to plan ahead of time for all of these events, for all of the things that our players are a part of, and give you guys a very certain and definite framework for how this season will work out. So yeah, very exciting stuff overall. I've been wanting to just tell people left and right, but I've done good. I've done very good of not telling people.
Yeah, we got to reveal it all tonight, which is super exciting, and I've loved the reception as well so far. And Shock is right in chat. Ask your questions in Twitch. I'll be keeping an eye on it to ask Fred, but I'll start with one of my own, and I am very curious because I travel to a lot of the regional events that are live, and I'm curious, Fred, what your vision is when it comes to the SEL kind of propping up other events in the Southeast.
Yeah, really the biggest thing there is production. To me, it's not about just sliding some money over and making an event happen, or even us hosting an event and making it happen. It's about empowering events that already exist and growing those events, whether that's through, my ideal front, which is getting our SEL team out there to help either TO, produce, or do any of the above, just to help make that event happen, because we have great lands in the Southeast that truthfully don't need our help. It's just about how we can, provide some help to grow it even further. They last and work just fine without us, but why not bring the community together who is already part of the same community, and give the opportunity for us to all work together, make something awesome. And of course, with that, it comes to, helping with funding, helping with staffing and things like that, which are all pretty much interrelated, and getting people like you, Bepic, out there who are pretty good focal points in the community here for Southeastern Rocket League, and the same with Valorant. Get Scott and Dallas out there to just get a couple games casted, whether that's in person, remote, or any which way we can. It's very exciting. And the other half of it is those events that maybe, don't have the school's recognition. We want to
Hmm.
start developing a framework for these programs who want to grow and have the opportunity to grow, but truthfully just haven't had their faces shown off enough, to maybe up that event just a little bit more. A big thing that we're doing this semester specifically is the ability to host the SEL LAN at universities. We haven't decided on a spot yet. We're very close to deciding. We've had some great universities reach out. Honestly, more than I could have ever hoped for. Great venues, great opportunities to showcase their programs, and even a couple of other cool event spaces that have, requested that we become a part of it. Um, Good news to come soon. Hopefully, another fun announcement stream there. But with it's really important for us to build up those programs. And that's where the SEL started. And for a while, we've tried to figure out what the best way to do that. And I think the best way to do that is just putting out our resources to those programs. Things like Bluegrass Boost, they're awesome. They have a venue, but some of those things like
Hmm.
maybe Voland and still bring your own computer. Maybe we can help hook them up with a sponsor to get computers there in some regard, or even just smaller things like get drinks there, get
Hmm.
casters there, help organize tournaments, just take a little bit off of that program who is doing something really awesome. So there's just countless avenues, and I think it'll really be a let us know how we can help, and we'll do our best kind of situation as we get things figured out here.
And talking about what Gaming Oasis and the SEL offer in terms of production, what is next in terms of expanding that production, like cutting out audio and streaming issues, whatever is kind of hampering us right now? What's your plan for expanding it?
Yeah, yeah. The funding from the fees was crucial there. We've always been able to do something really good, in my opinion, especially for a grassroots organization. However, there were limits to what we could do. We've always been very proud of our overlays and our design and our ability to get good content out there. But without proper funding, we couldn't have the staff or the equipment or the resources to produce a super high end stream. And that led to things like audio issues, broadcast mishaps. And I know that stuff will always happen. But we have actually spent, I personally, one of the biggest things I like about the SEL is I know how to do every single thing in it, and I want to make sure I always know how to do that. It's maybe a little bit of control freak on my side, but I like to make sure that I know where we can improve every little process we can find. I mean, as all you players know, there's a document for everything. And I tell you to read those
Yep.
documents anytime you ask me a question. Don't worry, it is the exact same way on the staff side. And honestly, they have it a lot worse. It's a document inside of a document that has an Excel sheet, and it's probably too much, but there's an answer for everything. We've done that for vmix, and I think vmix is the best thing that's going to come to the SEL broadcast in a long time. We have built out an entire API framework using Google Sheets to run our productions in vmix. And for those who are familiar with vmix, that's a good thing. That is a very, very good thing. There's not a lot of grassroots organizations that are able to take as advantage of it as I think we will. And the funding that we're getting through those memberships, that is going to be crucial to making that happen. Little things like cutting out OBS Ninja, using vmix calls, hosting our SRTs internally, very technical stuff that is just going to kind of set us over that next level, and I hope provide a better product to the teams overall. And of course, bringing Shaka on to be our head producer, we will have a
Yep.
single producer, a single contact who is able to train, onboard, coordinate all of our production stuff, and manage our equipment when it comes to LANs, promote remote production, helping you guys out with your LAN events, anything like that. And so that's a big thing. If we can keep acquiring this equipment, this software, that is one just really big way we can give back to the community, is letting our team be there who is trained in things like vmix to be on site. That gives you access to just a whole new avenues in some cases.
And we've got a couple of questions in chat. One of them isn't so much a question, but kind of statements about what we're wearing right now. When is SEL merch coming? Because I know when I was at LAN and I wore this SEL a pullover, I was getting a lot of questions about where someone could get an SEL pullover as well. Is SEL merch coming soon?
We're working on it. We are actually working with an organization right now, hopefully a new sponsor who should, hopefully, if everything works out, get y'all some merch. Not just on our side, because I know when these came out originally, there's only, I believe, 3 players in all of SEL history who weren't on staff that own these jackets, and it is the USC team from back in the day. They were the only team that ever won an event while we had the merchandise going, and we are excited to bring some back. I think it would be really cool. It'd be a great way, back in high school and during college, it was always fun to see those like cross country track. That was my sport.
Hmm.
Shirts that had all the schools at whatever thing you're at, and it was just fun to have them. That was my little collector's item from back then. So it'd be really cool to have that for the SEL.
Heck yeah, I'm pushing for it. I love this jacket. I need more SEL stuff. But another question from JM Dustin: what's your main vision as far as content creation goes? And are we thinking about content slash video editors? And he also added videographers in the chat as well. I'll lump his two questions together.
Yeah. So biggest change in content, right? This may seem crazy, but we have not had a firm, fully planned out content calendar. We have a pretty regular, just let's post certain things on certain days. And I know Sarah's looking forward to this, but we've sat down, we figured out a season long content calendar with planned TikTok, Instagram, not Instagram, TikTok, Twitter or X, YouTube, Twitch posts. So whether that's VODs, streaming on multi-streaming, putting out TikTok Tuesdays, which is going to be a new thing that we do, or even just better formats for our post on X, we are creating out almost entirely new assets for every single post, stuff specific for Rocket League, specific for Valorant, and it's going to coordinate directly with the formats. This season we definitely lagged a little bit behind when the hurricane hit on some of our posts, and we got behind on power rankings and things like that. One of the things I want to commit to delivering is that is never going to happen under this fee structure. You as teams are now paying us for a service, and it's no longer, there's no excuse of we are a volunteer organization. We want to have this fee, not only as it helps us grow, but it holds us accountable. And that is really important to me. As us, myself, the staff, everybody here at the SEL is really excited to have this structure. I know Sarah told me multiple times, she was like, this is great. I'm excited to have this because she is always asking, what else can I do? What else can I post? And having a content schedule, which I'm pretty sure takes up all but 1 day a week at most on almost all 10 weeks of both splits is pretty insane. With a lot of those days having multiple posts, multiple announcements about Rocket League, Valorant, Rising Star even comes around at the end, and it's a whole
Hmm.
separate content schedule for Rising Star, because we want to give teams those opportunities to be showcased. When it comes down to videographers, things like that, we're looking into a lot more equipment for LAN, specifically, and that's something else we can offer to other organizations in the Southeast, but we want to use it to start highlighting teams a little bit more, possibly get more stuff up on stage. The vMix will help a lot with that. It's technically a hardware switcher, but in software, and that gives us the opportunity to integrate with a lot more hardware resources, and we're very excited about that. The funding we'll get allows us to have some wiggle room on getting professional photographers, professional videographers, and things like that at LAN, which in the last years we've just had to use more freelance labor and things like that for quick photographers. And the photos this year turned out great, but we're hoping to
Hmm.
amp that up a little bit more than just a DSLR that one of us owned, and instead get some really professional stuff going for y'all. It's all about getting more for the programs, more highlights, and more information out there about your programs as a whole, and hopefully your schools see it and esports can keep growing like it is. It's an amazing industry so far.
We want to help programs grow. That's always been our goal. Even now, even as we were servicing, how many schools do we have this season, Fred? Like 50 or 60 schools offering
I think
teams.
we
It's
were
insane.
in the 60s. I think we're in the low 60s. I know a couple teams, they commit, they don't end up signing up, but I know our number was in that like 63 range of individual universities participating in the SEL across both platforms or both divisions.
And look, this is something that Fred and I were calculating our operating costs currently, and if we do expand, obviously they go up. But if we had all schools that competed in just the fall semester across Rocket League and Valorant pay that $450 fee to get on their unlimited teams across both games in, we would have covered operating costs, which is so incredible. And I'm Fred, you'll attest to this because you've actually put your own money into the league on several occasions. I think the league technically still owes you for money you have
Uh,
put in. It takes a lot to run things.
yeah, it is a surprising amount of money that these kind of things take, but if you're doing it right and you're getting the right people, and we are a league who is extremely passionate about non-volunteer production. We want all of our production staff to be paid, and a really big part of that is getting casters out here. Something that's really cool is Bepic is actually going to be coming back next semester. We have Bepic, TJ, Scott, Dallas. Very exciting lineup right there. We want to get y'all the best of the best, and having routine, regular casters on staff, on pay, who are going to be on the SEL stream is super important to me. I'm very excited about that. I hope I didn't out your announcement there, Bepic, but it's something I'm really excited about.
No,
Um,
it's good to be back because I've talked to a lot of people about it, but it's not public yet. I'm officially announcing it on my Twitter, but I've told too many people to consider it still private info. But I am going full freelance again. Not again. I'm going full freelance in the spring, which part of me being promoted to director of league operations was that I'm going to have more free time. I am quitting my coaching job at Huntingdon. I broke the news to my players in the program today and yesterday, which is sad. I love it there. But I'm going back to my freelance caster and freelance admin work job. And I'm to the point where I'm actually able to make a living off of that. So that's extremely exciting. And the SEL has been a huge part of that. So shout out to Fred for helping me grow to this point where I can do not SEL full time, but get to a point where I can maybe work towards doing SEL full time. But that's a ways off. Look,
Yeah.
it is awesome to at least be back in the booth for the SEL again.
Yeah, and that's and like I said, that's just really important to us to have that consistency, have amazing casters on staff, and have faces that everybody recognizes. No different than I always refer back to trad sports, and I say, it's not that I want us to be just like them, but I want us to follow a similar path to success. And one big thing is having those recognizable faces in the booth. People have very certain sports channels that they watch because of very certain people,
Hmm.
and I think the SEL has the opportunity to do something very similar for Southeastern Esports. We're one of the few down here, and we want to make sure that it stays strong, it stays growing, and it stays consistent.
All right. Well, this is the last call for questions that Fred can answer, that I can answer. Any other questions to chat? I'll leave it for a second. Fred, if you want to give closing ish statements, if any, before any last questions come in, feel free.
Yeah, I wanted to address a couple things in chat. I've seen people are talking about the VMix upgrade. People are talking about just overall, it's awesome to see that y'all are excited. The one thing that we will always do consistently is listen to our players and do things that impact you guys positively. Um, I'm excited for these changes. I know it may not be, exactly what you're looking for. We have some good, we have some not so good. I don't like to look at the membership changes as a bad change. It's definitely a impactful change, but I think it's impactful in the sense of it gives us a lot more opportunity to do something amazing. What's key there is we will tell every single one of you how we use those resources. And right after this stream, and let's be honest, I did this earlier today, but I hope no one's noticed. All of the roles in Discord have been changed. Bepic, for example, Sarah, Shaka, everybody's got new roles to address their new positions. And if you notice in our program registration and our SEL documents channel, all of the new documents have shown up as well. The only thing that hasn't changed is our format documents. Those will be changed over the break over Christmas, which will give you the opportunity to see in a little bit more detail what that format's going to look like. Though truthfully, it is very similar to the previous semester or the current semester that we're in, and it shouldn't affect a lot of you unless you didn't have the opportunity to be in the SEL due to not making tier 2. Tier 3 gives you that opportunity. If you got kicked out in LCQ, that's not going to happen this year. You go straight to the Rising Star playoffs. That's super exciting. A big thing for me was as many teams as possible, playing as many games as possible. And with
Yep.
that entry fee, we were able to guarantee practically every team 4 to 6 weeks of play, which is just incredible. That is extremely exciting for me. That's over 40% to 60% of the entire season. Colt asks, do we have registration dates? We should. So if you guys go into the SEL Docs channel, we have our competitive calendar. We've already built out the schedule for the entire next split. The only date we do not have is our LAN because that's dependent on a couple moving factors, and we also didn't want to schedule it for the same day as the CECC LAN.
Yeah.
So that was a very much a moving part that we had to figure out. So it's an exciting announcement, but it did make us kind of have to hold off just a minute. And as we choose a school, we'll announce that, or as we choose a location for the LAN, we'll announce that. And it should be very exciting.
And we do have a couple questions that came in. One from Somber. I missed it earlier, Somber. My bad. Will there be more streams for the spring with the new format and with more teams playing?
Yeah, so there is some uncertainty up in the air. Our numbers are, I'm an engineer myself, and math is one of my favorite things. I know I'm weird, but I hope a lot of the rest of you esports players can sympathize with me there. I know we're a fun bunch when it comes to math, but it is a little bit of uncertainty. We've got very good numbers right now on what we're expecting to see this coming semester, and so the spring will most likely not be a test run, but we don't think we'll go crazy on just expansion in the spring. We think we're going to settle into this new rhythm, and as we come into season 6, I think we're going to have a really good definitive answer on what we're expanding. Whether that be to address Scott Infernosis's question in the chat too, whether that be a new game, whether that be more B streams, which Scott and Bepic are already doing. It's been awesome to see, whether it's Tuesday Night Lights, Scott's B stream for the SEL. We launched the Esports SEL B channel this year. And with VMix, of course, we can stream to both YouTube and Twitch coming up in the future too, which those are all great avenues for expansion. But things that actually cost us money, like a B stream regularly and getting those B streams covered under our production funding, that is something that the membership fee is going directly towards. So to answer your question,
Yep.
TLDR, yes, we want to put those membership fees towards expanding our stream lineup, possibly adding a third Rocket League game. We're not going to add a second Valorant game on that night. That would just be way too much. But of course, getting that B stream to be a little more official, a little bit more on top of it and alongside the SEL standard, those are all possibilities that we'll see. So good expansion there, and it's a good use of the membership fee that y'all are giving us.
And the long and short of it is, it depends a lot on how many schools are able to pay that fee, and how many are coming back to the SEL. What we're able to do. So make sure
Yeah.
you're helping us recruit other schools, because the more schools that compete here, the more the SEL can do. And we've already been able to do a lot without the paid entry fee. So I'm excited to see where it goes. But the final question that we've got is also from Scott. Is the SEL looking to do off-season content and tournaments for students that want to be involved across multiple titles?
Yeah. One of the biggest initiatives we want to take this summer, especially after we figure out, like Bepic was just saying, there is that uncertainty of the number of teams that are able to pay this fee, the number of teams that can stick around. Once we have those first numbers this coming split, and we're hoping that those are pretty good numbers, we'll know the kind of budget we're working with on what we can expand to. And we hope to be able to basically take the part of the budget that we don't plan to use for equipment and things of that nature and not burn it, but definitely spend it on some more opportunities for y'all. Make your fee go a long way, especially since, this fall semester has really been almost like a quote unquote free trial for y'all. We are charging that full price, like Bepic mentioned, for the spring. And if you got the fall as part of it, that's awesome. I love that for y'all. But basically, to emulate how it would be in the future, would be that price for the full semester and throughout the summer after the LAN, because we know it's earlier in the summer and you want something else to do. We'll probably do some fun stuff, whether it's exploring a new game title by hosting a one off tournament for schools, or whether it's, doing something fun like Bed Wars. I know that idea has been floated around way more times than I think I would ever imagine in the
Yeah.
SEL. That was the last thing I expected Bepic to ask me about, I think, last summer. Hey, Fred, can we host a Bed Wars tournament? I was like, oh, that is not what I expected to come out of your mouth. But, in the past with Gaming Oasis, which is our actual, management company, we've done things like Splitgate, Overwatch, a lot of fun stuff. And so there are tons of opportunities for one off events in the summer. And if that's something that players are interested in and that's what you want your membership fees to go towards, it's something we'll make happen, and it'll be fun to have those one-off tournaments with people like Scott, Bepic, Dallas, TJ, making it happen, Shotgun Production, just to have a fun time for schools who, maybe want to have those ones tournaments in, Rocket League, or even, an Overwatch tournament to see how the interest is or anything like that. So very exciting.
And that wraps up our Q&A. So, Fred, thanks for joining me on stream tonight. We don't get to see you on stream all that often. So it's an exciting time for the SEL. Thanks for talking us through it.
Awesome. Thank you, Bepic. And thank you, everybody.
All right, all the rest of you, thank you for tuning in tonight for our big announcement stream. I know there are a lot of people that weren't able to tune in tonight, so make sure that you spread the word, especially about our big changes and announcements, the CECC spot, the paid entry fee change. This is an important time for the Southeastern Esports League, and all of you watch tonight have been a big part of it, and will continue to be a big part of what the SEL is able to do. So love you all. I'm excited to be back in full force with the SEL in the spring. And that does it for the stream tonight. We will see you tomorrow for Rocket League playoffs, and then Thursday for Valorant. Until then, peace out.